Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, today I'm going to kind of discuss about the origins of English. Just like any languages, English doesn't just exist. English is no exception to that. English has a history, a rich history of first starting from just people migrating from an island to another island to a worldwide international spoken language that is used by everyone pretty much, and it's used for language of trades, the language of pretty much communication to people abroad, like across countries internationally. I think it's pretty fascinating that English is the kind of lingua franca of the world, and I think we should like kind of tap in to the history of English, like how does it get formed? So back then, English was written like this. This was pretty much like one of the oldest manuscripts of Old English. It's weird, like you can't really read it. It's unintelligible to regular English. It's really, really different to the English that we know today, especially that it has some like weird characters, like what these P and B things are. Like, what does this mean? Well, English is really, really different back then, and it evolved through many stages and many factors, and then it turned to something like this that you might read. You can read, like people can read, that people use as a lingua franca of the world. Like this means something. It has no like weird characters, anything, and it's online. Well, so English, it develops in three stages. First, there's the Old English, then it transforms to Middle English, and to the modern English that we use today. So now I'm going to kind of explain, do a kind of overview of those three stages. But first, I think we have to kind of explain like before English first. Okay. So it all starts in Europe. It all starts in Europe, of course. There's these people called the Anglo-Saxons that lived in the north part of Denmark, or here, some like here, and in German, but here. It's like, I think it's the city of Holstein, if I'm not wrong. There lived the Anglo-Saxons, or the people of Anglo-Saxons. Here there were three kingdoms: the Jutes, the Angles, and the Saxons. The Jutes are the northmost, the Angles is the middle, so like here, and then the Saxons are over here. There are three kingdoms that lived over there, and they thought that the climate was bad, and like they were like, oh, it sucks farming here, like can we go somewhere else? So they did. They migrated from their place to this new island of Great Britain. They thought like, oh, this looks great. So they migrated. The Jutes from the northernmost migrated to the kind of the southwestern of Britain, somewhere in Wessex. Saxons to the somewhere around London. Angles around some like in the middle of Britain. They sailed through the seas using this long boat that you might see somewhere. It's kind of cool. These long boats, they migrated in large numbers, the Anglo-Saxons. Then, since back then, Great Britain was conquered by the Roman Empire, the Roman Empire ages, they mostly used Latin to speak. The language there was used was Latin. So since the Anglo-Saxons came, they got replaced by the Anglo-Saxons. They kind of raided the place and kind of fought the people there, and they got replaced and they replaced the language from Latin to Anglo-Saxon, which we call as Old English. So here is one of the most popular poem of Old English, like one of the most translated, most studied works of like old literature of Old English. This is the poem of Beowulf. That is about it's a story about somewhere in Danish actually. So there's this person called Beowulf, and he's like a legend, an epic or something. He fought many monsters and got praised by the king of Hrothgar in Danish, and then they got kind of he fought the monster again and wins again, and then he ruled a place named, I forgot the name was, but he ruled a place for 50 years. He got old and he fought a dragon, but he's dead. So I think it's pretty cool though. It's an epic poem. Also, by the way, back then Old English was not written with Latin. They were written with runes. These things, like you might know Vikings for context. These Old English were written with runes, so like rune characters. It's really weird. and yeah, soon they will be replaced by Latin by some external factors. So here, the Anglo-Saxons, they farmed in peace. They actually got a place of a good climate to kind of farm. They developed their own farming methods. They farmed a lot of like wheats, onions, vegetables, all of that stuff in somewhere around here. So they're happy, like, yeah, you finally got a new place that doesn't suck like this place. So yeah, they're happy and they're fine. Until they know it, the Normans are coming. Oh wait, what were the Normans? The Normans are the people that lived on the northern west of France. They are like, maybe I should explain it. So the Normans are basically the Vikings. You know the Vikings? The Vikings are Scandinavians, Scandinavians, or I would say somewhere around Sweden or Norway or something like Finland. They raided a lot of places. They sailed around Europe, kind of like goes to Danish, goes to Norway, everywhere. They just raided everyone. Like, what the hell? What are they doing? Then there's this one notable raid where they tried to kind of take over Paris because France was pretty popular at that time. They tried to siege Paris. The Vikings tried to fight really hard. Fight the Frenchmen to try to take over Paris in around 885. But they failed. They got defeated by the king, king of Charles the Simple. But in Charles' mind, like he thought like, well, you guys are very strong. Like, you know, the Vikings sail around Europe and attacks pretty much everybody else and mostly wins. Since the king thought he was strong, the king decided to give the Vikings a place to live, to kind of settle. So the Vikings, or more known as Rolos people, they migrated to here and adopted the French culture, French language, French cuisine, but they kind of still like have some footprints of their own like Norman like Scandinavian stuff. So they have like a French language, but they may have some kind of a little dialect of Norman. And so they settled at that place, and that place is called Normandy. So, going back to English. So at that time, somewhere around I think 1050 something AD, there's this king called oh no, I think his name was Harold. Wait, no, Harold. He was King Edward. Yeah, King Edward the Confessor. King Edward. He lived at that age and reigned the England kingdom. But then he died. So, well, the thing here is that King Edward doesn't have any child. And you know, kings and monarchies and stuff, the next kings usually get determined through their sons. So, like, when a king has a son, their son will be the next king. And since King Edward doesn't have any son, it's kind of like controversial, like, who are going to be the next king? It's confused, like, people are confused, this is bit like, who are going to be the next king? King Edward doesn't have a son. So then they kind of like, okay, so Edward's wife's brother gets to be the king, which is King Harold. King Harold becomes king, but then this person came in. This person called King William I of the Duke of Normandy thought that he had a familiar relationship with King Edward. So he thought like, why not me? Like I think I'm his son, like why not me? So he then brought his armies, his Frenchmen, his Flemish person, his armies to sail through the English Channel to fight Harold. In which, in the Battle of Hastings, around here, on the Wessex region, or like the south of London, King William defeated Harold. In which King William gets crowned in London in around September of 25th, if I'm not wrong. So, he's crowned to be the king, and he's happy like, hey, I'm the king now. So he can do what he wants. Well, you know, at that time, the language, like the language of the monarchs, are English. So like the language of the elites, like the cool person, like the popes, the people of the kingdom, basically use English. But since this guy comes from Normandy, he doesn't speak English. He speaks Norman French, and so he just like, you know what? Get right out of here. let's go Norman French. So yeah, this person gets rid of English and just decided to replace them with Norman French. So all of the English elites got kicked out of the palace and replaced with Norman ones, of which actually affects English a lot. So like it affects English in a way where, since Norman French is used in the elites, of course there would be some kind of collision with the people that use Old English. So at this era, a lot of like vocabularies from Norman French, like beef, tax, astonish, purchase, those words that you might seem like really elegant, these elegant words actually come from Norman French, and also like cow and beef. Back then in Old English, cows would be called cows, but in Norman French they'd be called beef. So sometimes they kind of like kind of contempt gets added, yeah, and also they add some really like similar words, like the same words that has the same meaning, but it's more like elegant. Like astonish is the better way of saying amaze. Purchase, buy. Buy is like meh, it's Old English. Then there's purchase from Norman French. It's easier. It's like cooler. So it got absorbed by Old English, of which it became the Middle English. Here starts the Middle English era, of where pretty much everyone speak Middle English around I think 1400. So the people are like, finally there's no more wars here. Like, it's time to rest, time to farm again, I guess. But wait, there's more. There's this thing called Great Vowel Shift. The Great Vowel Shift is the vowel shift that kind of shifts how we pronounce certain words. So like in Old English, we pronounce this word as beat, I think beat. But then it transforms to bite. It's kind of like how it made you guys harder to learn English actually, because Old English back then they use they write how they sound. It's like they beat, meet, mate, oot. They don't speak out, mate, meet, bite. It changed through this great vowel shift with like bite, meet, to meet, like it was back then meet, I think meet, mate, mat, meet, beat. Ooh. But then it changed to beat, bite, meet, mate, and out. That happens at around I think 1400 to 1700, which happens in several stages, but I don't have much time, so I didn't include it in this presentation. Anyway, moving on, Middle English becomes Modern English. Yay, we're now at the time where people speak kind of like, the English that's pretty much kind of intelligible to us. So, well, it's done. Like, wow, we got to Modern English. So then there's this Queen Elizabeth era of Queen Elizabeth got crowned, and she allowed the Englishmen to sail. It is deemed to be one of the most the best eras of English of all time, because of the previous kings, the Englands or the Englishmen were not allowed to go outside and do something like this crazy. Queen Elizabeth kind of commanded the people to sail abroad, to just go anywhere, find stuff abroad, in other islands. So the English developed really great ships to travel to around the world to kind of get stuff that they don't get in this place. So then they conquered everyone. So this is kind of a map that where the British have stepped a land on pretty much everywhere around the world. So they've got British America, you've got Indonesia, you've got Malaysia, India. Pretty much they have conquered everyone, invaded everyone. It's kind of crazy actually. They kind of went too far, but as a result of that, everyone speaks English. Wait, what? Well, that's pretty weird, but really cool because of that, because the British, that's pretty much invaded every country in the world. They introduced the English language to the people, of which they learned the English language, where they can kind of like, since everybody can, everyone that the British has conquered can speak English, it's kind of like makes sense to, okay, let's just use English because everybody already knows English. So I think that's where we have got today. English is the lingua franca of the world. It has spread over the internet. It has spread to a lot of things, especially the Americans. Actually, the Americans, the United States, they are the superpowers, and they speak English since they make a lot of technologies today. English is spread more widely than British does. Well, I guess that marks as the end of my presentation. Thanks for listening. I suppose I hope you find these what I was speaking is useful to you. Maybe it kind of piqued your interest, maybe to browse or search stuff about old English and stuff. I guess that's all for me. Thanks for listening. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.